All right, class. On this video, we're gonna start going over chapter or two, which talks about how to read site plans. We're gonna start getting into different plans, which is floor plans, all the different plans that you get in a set of drawings, elevations. We're gonna cover elevations, electrical, and so on and so forth. But first, we need to start with the site plan. The site plan tells us uh, what's the size of our lot or our property, what space do we have, what conditions are in that particular land, or the conditions are there trees, are there hills, is it too low, is it too high, or in case of floods. So we need to know what's the condition of the property, and once we know the condition and the size, how are we going to use that to lay out our building? How are we going to put it in that property? Which orientation is it going to be? Based on it's very important to know how the condition of the plan of the site. I'm sorry, of the property, because you need to take into consideration how you're going to design with that in mind. If it has a slope, yeah, are you gonna bring some dirt or take some dirt, or are you just gonna design with that in mind? Do you have to provide retention walls, or also very important when you're designing, when you need to take into consideration also the where the sun rises and where it sets, because that's going to have an impact on your design itself. So it's very important to know where the property, before you start designing, or even when you start designing, you need to know where's the property and how is it laid out, how I'm going to lay out my house and that property. So for example, if I start designing and I don't even know where the utilities are at, or the orientation of the property, or there's trees or there's hills in my property, then my design might not work for that, or it's going to give it even later on more expensive to do all those changes, taking off trees, bringing in dirt, taking out dirt, doing retention walls, detention walls. I'm sorry, detention walls. Um, Maybe I have to change the layout of my design because now I have everything on the east side and it should be on the west, and so all those things you have to know uh, beforehand, or while you're designing, because it will have a big impact on your design itself. So you need to know the site plan. Okay, so that's just an intro. So now let's get to what the chapter says. Site plans, plat plans, and subdivisions. That's what this slide has. Again, this slide should be on Blackboard, and then I'll discuss this in class again briefly, but I'll try to go slowly, or a little more slow here in the video, and again with the purpose of for you to hear it here and then hear from me in class and then read it on your book. Hopefully everything gets clear, or the idea gets clear by then. And again, like I tell you, if there's a question, please let me know so I can address it during class. Okay, site plans. You hear also the name plot, plot plan, or just lot. Just keep in mind that when you think of a plot or a lot, maybe that just generally is just the actual property. It will tell you the condition of the property. It will tell you what's there, what's the size, what are the bearings, streets maybe, but it won't show how the property is laid out on that. I'm sorry, how the building is laid out on that property. The site plan will tell you that. Okay, so a site plan is more, I guess, is more precise of a word or a name for that plan, because in the site plan it does give you all the information of the property, and also where is your building in regards to that property. Where is it at? Is it and of course you have to use dimensions, but how are you going to lay it out on that property? So a site plan, it's you're gonna have the property with all the information you need on the property, bearings, grading maybe, and then how is the building itself laid out on that piece of property. Okay, so that's a site plan. Basically, it's a site plan. What is it going to cover, or what it's going to have? What it's going to have the property itself, this what the size is, the building. We're going to have it in the middle, towards the back, towards the bottom, on the one side. We're going to have where are your sidewalks, where are your driveways. Uh, you have to respect your setbacks, which is something we're going to talk about later on. setbacks, utilities. How's the electricity, water coming in? How is the sewage going out from that building? So all those things are shown in the site plan. Okay, so it wears everything, and it just imagine you just wherever you live, you fly up in the sky, you look down, and then you have a line showing you the size of your property, and then what you see on your house from above. Imagine that's a site plan, and then you know you can also see where's the electricity coming in from, where is the sewage going out, and so on and so forth. You'll see the street, you'll see your driveways, you'll see your sidewalks, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that basically is a site plan. Now, plat. What's a plat? A plat plan, and if you see on your book, and actually I got a picture here. Let me see if I can bring it in. A plat plan is basically it's different than a plot. Okay, so plat is basically like a drawing of the whole subdivision. Let me bring this in. I just got this from the internet. This will be a plat. Okay, this is a plat. It shows you the overall subdivision. So when somebody develops a big piece of property, they'll develop it and they'll do certain lots. Each lot will have its own bearings and numbers and setbacks and all the utilities and all that stuff. So it's a plat, P-L-A-T. It's a general map. Let's put it that way. A general map of a huge piece of land. Okay, and inside that plat, you might have plot plans, which are single lots inside that plat. So again, a plat, P-L-A-T, it's like a map of a huge piece of property that has different properties or plots in that plat. Okay, hopefully I made it clear. I think I said plot and plat too many times, but okay, plat, map, plot, or the lot, it's individual. Okay, so these are your individual lots right there, which their own bearings. I don't know if you can zoom in. There we go. And we're gonna talk about bearings right now in a bit. So this is lot 19, lot 18, lot 17, and it has a square footage and it has its own bearings and so on and so forth. All the information you need per lot, but the whole thing, this right here, it's a plat. Okay, so you can do a research on that and you can get more information. So let me move this a little bit. Okay, so it's a plat plan, and then subdivision. And here it just to the if I were to click this, if I was on PowerPoint, it would show me definitions and stuff like that. So I'm not going to go over that. So site plan, it shows you where the lot, which with all the information you need in regards to sizes, and if you have curves there, it will give you all that stuff. And then it will give you also, or you will add, where is it that I'm going to put my building. Okay, and in regards to setbacks, you have to respect all those things. Again, we're going to discuss that as we go. All right, let's see what we have here. Legal descriptions. Now, each property that you have, or each property that exists, has its own legal description. It's like a name that it's given to a piece of a property. It's like its own ID, and this is recorded in at the county, or usually the county, yeah. So in other words, if you want to know what is the legal description of the property where you live, you can go to Hidalgo County Appraisal District. You can do a search, and it'll give you like the actual name, or the actual what is it called? The actual description of that piece of property. And each property that exists has its own legal description. For example, this is public information. So what I did, I went into the Hidalgo County I went blank here. I forgot the page, but I went to the Hidalgo County, one of the pages, and I searched for STC, and I just clicked on any property the STC owns, and you will find here a legal description. For example, for this one that I chose, which the address is at, It's the legal description for this piece of land. It's Buenavista, I guess, unit number 1, lot 4. Okay, so each piece of property has its own name or ID. Okay, if you want to put it that way. Now, why is it important? Because when you're drawing, you're gonna have to put that information on your site plan. You're gonna have to put, I don't know, Las Lagunas subdivision, lot 5, unit whatever. So it has, every single property has its own legal description, and you need to know. You need to know that, because you need to put that in your site plan to make sure that they're working on the correct property. Now, if the owner doesn't know that, and they don't have a plat to show them the legal description, then you can go again to in our case here, if you live in Hidalgo, you can go to the Hidalgo County, there we go, Appraisal District. That's the page that I went to. Hidalgo County Appraisal District. You can do a search, and it will give you the legal description per whatever property. You can do a search by name or by address, and it'll give you a legal description of that piece of land. Okay, so it's only on the name part, on the name that it has, and the name that it shows, and the name or the ID that is given, but it doesn't give nothing in regards to sizes. Those you're gonna get from meets and bounds. Meets and bounds basically are just the measurements, and you want to see like the measurements and boundaries of that property that you're working or you're looking at. Okay, and that's the way how they measure them. And then boundaries, is there any streets, fences, and bearings? This is what we're going to talk about. I'm going to talk about more on this just briefly, because when you take your civil intro to civil class, whoever's teaching that goes more in depth. And then point of beginning, very important. When that's actually what I want to cover, or for you to cover for this class, bearings and point of beginning. Let me see if we have some samples here. Here we go. Before I do that, actually, let me stop this video right here, and then we'll continue with that, because I don't want the videos to get too long. So let me finish this first video. I'll do the second one, which we're going to talk about bearings and point of beginning, and the next one.